7:02 a.m. The crash sounded like a bomb. Wood exploded across my front yard. My brand new white fence, 3 weekends of sweat, splinters, and precision, shattered under the front grille of a blacked-out BMW. Then came the smell. Burned rubber. Spilled whiskey. Entitlement. Before I could even process what happened, she arrived. Patricia Thornfield, HOA president, self-appointed queen of Willowbrook Heights, 4-inch heels clicking like a warning shot. She didn't check on me. She didn't check on the damage. She walked straight to the responding officers, flashed her HOA credentials, and said words that would ignite a war. This homeowner will be paying for all of it, my son's car included, HOA bylaws, improper fence placement. I stood there holding a police report already drafted in her favor. Her son Bryce leaned against the wrecked BMW, smirking through bloodshot eyes. They thought this was over. They thought they'd done this before. They were right. What they didn't know was that I document everything. What they didn't know was that I had already survived something worse than an HOA bully. And what they definitely didn't know was that by the end of the week, federal investigators would be walking through Patricia's front door. Because this wasn't just about a fence. It was about 25 years of intimidation, millions in missing funds, and one fatal mistake. She picked the wrong homeowner. If someone tried to force you to pay for their drunk son's destruction, what would you do? Stay with me. Because what happened next destroyed more than a fence. My name is Garrett Holloway, 52, electrician, recently divorced. That fence wasn't decoration. It was therapy. After my divorce, I worked 60-hour weeks to afford that modest 1970s ranch in Willowbrook Heights. Navy shutters, straight tomato rows, and that fence measured 3 times to sit exactly 18 inches inside my property line. Patricia didn't care. Within 48 hours, I received a formal violation notice. Improper boundary structure, owner liability for vehicular damages. Translation: pay for Bryce's DUI accident. I requested the bylaws. She sent highlighted sections, conveniently cropped. That was her first mistake. I pulled the full county plat map. Then I measured again. 18 inches inside. Perfectly compliant. But Patricia escalated. Emergency HOA meeting, Tuesday, 2 p.m. When most residents were at work. I attended anyway. The room smelled like stale coffee and power. Patricia stood at the head of the table like a prosecutor. She framed it as a community safety concern. Bryce's drunk driving became my aesthetic violation. 3 board members voted to fine me $500. They even passed a retroactive reinspection rule. Retroactive. That word stuck in my head like a loose wire. You don't change rules after an incident unless you're hiding something. So I started digging. Door to door. Quiet conversations. Mrs. Monroe mentioned Bryce speeding every weekend. Mr. Kowalski admitted Patricia pressured votes behind closed doors. Patterns emerged. New residents targeted. Divorced homeowners. Elderly couples. Anyone unlikely to fight back. Then I found something bigger. While reviewing HOA financial reports, public records, easily accessible, I noticed missing audit filings. 4 consecutive years. State law requires annual independent audits for associations managing reserve funds of this size. Patricia hadn't filed them. That wasn't oversight. That was exposure. When I requested financial transparency in writing, her tone changed. Certified letter. $4,100 in escalating penalties. Copy sent to my mortgage lender. Financial strangulation. That's when I stopped thinking like a homeowner and started thinking like an investigator. I subpoenaed nothing. I accused nothing. I simply requested documentation through formal channels. Receipts, contracts, vendor agreements. Her brother-in-law's maintenance company billed triple market rates. Emergency repairs billed, no permits filed. Community reserve fund balance. Shockingly low for a 200-home neighborhood. When I mentioned audits publicly on the neighborhood Facebook page, Patricia exploded. She called it harassment, claimed I was destabilizing property values. Then Bryce spray-painted my mailbox at 2 a.m. Security cameras caught everything. Officer Martinez arrived 40 minutes later. His voice was quiet. "Garrett, she donates to the department." That told me everything. But even Officer Martinez looked uncomfortable reviewing the footage. Evidence makes people nervous, especially when it's undeniable. The more Patricia pushed, the more paper she created. Every fine, every threat, every retroactive rule. She thought intimidation would silence me. Instead, it built my case. Then came her boldest move yet. A temporary restraining order. She claimed I was harassing board members by requesting financial transparency. The judge granted a temporary restriction pending review, which meant I was legally barred from attending HOA meetings discussing my own violations. That's when I knew this wasn't about control anymore. It was panic. And panic makes powerful people sloppy. She believed she had checkmated me. What she didn't realize was that she had just created a public legal record. And public records are permanent. For a moment, it worked. The restraining order humiliated me. Bright orange violation notices were taped to my door. Neighbors avoided eye contact. The Facebook group turned hostile. Anonymous posts questioned my mental stability after my divorce. Someone circulated a rumor I had previous disputes in past neighborhoods. Bryce drove past nightly, revving, laughing. I felt isolated. Mortgage company called about the copied violations. My stomach dropped. If they considered my property non-compliant, refinancing could be jeopardized. That house was everything. I remember sitting on my back patio one night, staring at the broken fence. Cold coffee in hand, thinking maybe I should just pay. $6,700 was cheaper than legal warfare. That's how bullies win. Not with strength, with exhaustion. Then Patricia detonated her nuclear option. Foreclosure warning notice through her cousin's law firm. 72 hours to respond. It wasn't legally sound, but it was terrifying. She wanted me scared enough to surrender. And for one long night, I was. I barely slept. Imagined losing the house. Starting over at 52. Alone again. The next morning, something shifted. I pulled every document I had collected and spread them across my dining table. Violation letters, audit gaps, vendor contracts, video footage. It didn't look like defeat. It looked like a pattern. Then Mr. Kowalski knocked on my door. Retired IRS Criminal Investigation Division. He'd been watching Patricia for years. Quietly, documenting irregularities. I was waiting, he said, for someone stubborn enough to push back. He showed me archived financial summaries Patricia thought were destroyed. And that's when the numbers stopped being suspicious and started being criminal. The original development agreement required reserve fund growth projections. Based on home sales and dues, the fund should have exceeded $8 million. Reported balance: barely 6 figures. My breath left my lungs. That wasn't sloppy accounting. That was systematic extraction. Meanwhile, Patricia intensified intimidation. My water service was accidentally shut off. Lawn violation notices multiplied. A local contractor refused to repair my fence after advice from HOA leadership. Even Officer Martinez looked trapped between duty and pressure. For a few days, it felt unwinnable. She controlled perception. She controlled the board. She had influence. And I was one electrician with a binder of papers. But bullies have one weakness. They believe fear equals loyalty. It doesn't. It equals silence. And silence eventually breaks. When county compliance officers responded to a routine inquiry I had submitted weeks earlier about missing audits, Patricia didn't know. But the clock had started ticking. She thought I was cornered. In reality, the system was quietly circling her. The turning point came disguised as paperwork. County compliance sent a formal request for audit records. 30-day response deadline. Patricia called an emergency HOA meeting. I couldn't attend due to the restraining order, but neighbors recorded it. Her tone wasn't confident anymore. It was frantic. She proposed transferring remaining reserve funds to an emergency infrastructure account. Offshore. That single proposal sealed everything. Because moving funds during an active compliance review, that's obstruction territory. Mr. Kowalski submitted a formal complaint to the State Oversight Division. Not emotional, not accusatory, just documented discrepancies. Within 2 weeks, investigators requested full financial disclosure. Then Bryce made his own contribution to karma. Third DUI. This time hitting a parked car. Arrested. No quiet resolution. Felony charge pending. Patricia's influence couldn't override body cam footage. Her image cracked. And when local media caught wind of an HOA president under financial review, they asked questions. She responded with anger, threatened defamation suits publicly, which only amplified scrutiny. The restraining order hearing became pivotal. In court, her attorney argued I was destabilizing the neighborhood. My attorney presented video evidence of vandalism, audit deficiencies, retroactive fines. The judge dissolved the restraining order immediately and ordered full financial transparency pending review. That public ruling shattered her aura. Neighbors who'd been silent began speaking. Petition signatures requesting independent audit surpassed the required threshold. County oversight triggered a mandatory review. Then came the search warrants. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet official presence. Boxes removed, hard drives seized, bank subpoenas issued. The more investigators reconstructed records, the clearer the pattern became. Inflated contracts to relatives, duplicate vendor payments, missing scholarship funds. Patricia attempted one last move. She offered me $10,000 to settle. I recorded the conversation legally and submitted it. Bribery during an active investigation is not strategic. It's suicidal. Her husband filed for separation within days. Board members resigned publicly. Bryce accepted a plea deal. And Patricia was formally charged with embezzlement, fraud, and obstruction. No dramatic screaming. No courthouse theatrics. Just the slow, devastating unraveling of someone who believed she was untouchable. 25 years of dominance collapsed in under 6 weeks. Because documentation beats intimidation. Every time. 6 months later, I rebuilt the fence. Stronger posts. Reinforced concrete. Level to the millimeter. But this time, neighbors helped. The HOA was dissolved temporarily under county management. An interim board formed, transparent, audited, rotating leadership. Monthly financial statements published publicly. Dues reduced. Trust rebuilt slowly. Patricia awaits sentencing. Restitution proceedings underway. Assets frozen pending civil recovery. Bryce lost his license for years. Community service cleaning the very parks funded by stolen reserves. Property values stabilized. But the real victory. Silence broke. Mrs. Monroe now attends every meeting. Mr. Kowalski chairs financial oversight. Residents ask questions without fear. And me, I'm still just an electrician. I didn't set out to dismantle a regime. I just refused to pay for someone else's destruction. That fence cost me 3 weekends. Her arrogance cost her everything. So here's my question to you. If someone weaponized rules to silence you, would you fold? Or would you document, persist, and expose? Because sometimes the fight isn't about the money. It's about proving that even in a neighborhood ruled by intimidation, ordinary people can win. And sometimes, all it takes to expose millions in corruption is a broken fence.